Shaker Heights. Hello, Ohio. It is great to be here. There are a couple of quick acknowledgments I want to make. First of all, please give Rick a big round of applause for his introduction. Some special guests that we've got. First of all, the governor of the great state of Ohio, Ted Strickland, is in the house. There he is right there. Your State Treasurer Kevin Boyce is here. Your Secretary of State Jennifer Brunner is here. The Mayor of the great city of Cleveland, Frank Jackson, is here. Shaker Heights Mayor Earl Leiken is here. The Shaker Heights School Superintendent Mark Freeman is here. Not here, but a couple of my favorite people, Congresswoman Marcia Fudge and Sherrod Brown. Couldn't be here today. They've got work to do in Washington. It is good to be back in the great state of Ohio. Now, I know there are those who like to report on the back and forth in Washington, but my only concern is the people who sent us to Washington. The families feeling the pain of this recession. The folks I've met across this country who have lost jobs and savings and health insurance, but haven't lost hope. The citizens who defied the cynics and the skeptics who went to the polls to demand real and lasting change. Change was the cause of my campaign. It is the cause of my presidency. And when my administration came into office, we were facing the worst economy since the Great Depression. We were losing an average of 700,000 jobs per month. Hundreds of thousands of Ohioans have felt that pain firsthand. Our financial system was on the verge of collapse, meaning families and small businesses couldn't get the credit they need. And experts were warning that there was a serious chance that our economy could slip into a depression. But because of the action we took in those first weeks, we've been able to pull our economy back from the brink. Now that the most immediate danger is past, there are some who question those steps. So let me report to you exactly what we've done. We passed a 2-year Recovery Act that meant an immediate tax cut for 95% of Americans in small business. 95%. It extended unemployment insurance and health coverage for those who lost their jobs in this recession. It provided emergency assistance to states like Ohio to prevent even deeper layoffs of police officers and firefighters and teachers and other essential personnel. At the same time, we took needed steps to keep the banking system from collapsing, to get credit flowing again, and to help responsible homeowners hurt by falling home prices to stay in their homes. In the second phase, we're now investing in projects to repair and upgrade roads and bridges, ports and water systems, and in schools, and clean energy initiatives throughout Ohio and all across the country. These are projects that are creating good jobs and bring lasting improvements to our communities and our country. Now, there's no doubt that the steps we've taken have helped stave off a much deeper disaster and even greater job loss. They've saved and helped create jobs and have begun to put the brakes on this devastating recession. But I know that for the millions of Americans who are looking for work, and for those who are struggling in this economy, full recovery can't come soon enough. I hear from you at town hall meetings like this. I read your letters. The stories I hear are the first thing that I think about in the morning. They're the last thing I think about at night. They're the focus of my attention every waking minute of every day. The simple truth is that it took us years to get into this mess, and it will take more than a few months to dig our way out of it. But I want to promise you this, Ohio, we will get there. And we are doing everything in our power to get our people back to work. I love you back. We also have to do more than just rescue this economy from recession. We need to address the fundamental problems that allowed this crisis to happen in the first place. Otherwise, we'd be guilty of the same short-term thinking that got us into this mess. That's what Washington has done for decades. We put things off, and that's what we have to change. Now is the time to rebuild this economy stronger than before. Strong enough to compete in the 21st century. Strong enough to avoid the waves of boom and bust that have time and time again unleashed a torrent of misfortune on middle-class families across the country. That's why we're building a new energy economy that will unleash the innovative potential of America's entrepreneurs and create millions of new jobs, helping to end our dependence on foreign oil. We're transforming our education system from cradle to college so that this nation once again has the best educated workforce on the planet. We are pursuing health insurance reform so that every American has access to quality, affordable health coverage. I want to talk about health care just for a second. I want to be clear. Reform isn't just about the nearly 46 million Americans without health insurance. I realize that with all the charges and the criticism being thrown out there in Washington, many Americans may be wondering, well, how does my family or my business stand to benefit from health insurance reform? What's in this for me? Folks are asking that. So I want to answer those questions briefly. If you have health insurance, the reform we're proposing will give you more security. You just heard Rick's story. Reform will keep the government out of your health care decisions, giving you the option to keep your coverage if you're happy with it. So don't let folks say that somehow we're going to be forcing government-run health care. It's just not true. And it will keep the insurance companies out of your health care decisions, too. By stopping insurers from cherry-picking who they cover and holding insurers to a higher standard for what they cover. You won't have to worry about receiving a surprise bill in the mail because we'll limit the amount your insurance company can force you to pay out of your own pocket. You won't have to worry about pre-existing conditions because never again will anyone in America be denied coverage because of a previous illness or injury. You won't have to worry about losing coverage if you lose or leave your job, because every American who needs insurance will have access to affordable plans through a health insurance exchange, a marketplace where insurance companies will compete to cover you, not to deny you coverage. And if you run a small business and you're looking to provide insurance for your employees, you'll be able to choose a plan through this exchange as well. I've heard from small business owners across America trying to do the right thing, but year after year, premiums rise higher and choices grow more limited. And that's certainly true right here in Ohio. Now, if you're a taxpayer concerned about deficits, I want you to understand I'm concerned about deficits too. Because in the 8 years before we came into office, Washington enacted 2 large tax cuts, primarily for the wealthiest Americans, added a prescription drug benefit to Medicare, funded 2 wars, all without paying for it. Didn't pay for it. The national debt doubled. We were handed a $1.3 trillion deficit when we walked in the door. One we necessarily had to add to in the short term to deal with this financial crisis. Now, I have to tell you, I have to say that folks have a lot of nerve who helped us get us into this fiscal hole and then start going around trying to talk about fiscal responsibility. I'm always a little surprised that people don't have a little more shame about having created a mess and then try to point fingers, but that's another topic. Because the truth is that I am now president. And I am responsible, and together we have to restore a sense of responsibility in Washington. We have to do what businesses and families do. We've got to cut out the things we don't need to pay for the things we do. And that's why I've pledged that I will not sign health insurance reform as badly as I think it's necessary. I won't sign it if that reform adds even 1 dime to our deficit over the next decade. And I mean what I say. Now, we have estimated that 2/3 of the cost of reform to bring health care security to every American can actually be paid for by reallocating money that's already in the system, but's being wasted in federal health care programs. So let me repeat what I just said. About 2/3 of health care reform can be paid for not with new revenues, not with tax hikes, not just with taking money that's not being spent wisely and moving it into things that will actually make people healthier. And that includes, by the way, right now we spend more than $100 billion in unwarranted subsidies that go to insurance companies as part of Medicare. Subsidies that do nothing to improve care for our seniors. We ought to take that money and use it to actually treat people and cover people, not to line pockets of insurers. And I'm pleased that Congress has already embraced these proposals. And while they're currently working through proposals to finance the remaining costs, I continue to insist that health care reform not be paid for on the backs of middle-class families. Now, in addition to making sure that this plan doesn't add to the deficit in the short term, the bill I signed must also slow the growth of health care costs while improving care in the long run. I just came from the Cleveland Clinic, where I toured the cardiac surgery unit, met some of the doctors who are achieving incredible results for their patients. And there's important work being done there as well as at the university hospitals and Metro Health. And Cleveland Clinic has one of the best health information technology systems in the country. And that means they can track patients and their progress. It means that they can see what treatments work and what treatments are unnecessary. It means they can provide better care for patients. They don't have to duplicate test after test because it's all